All right, we're back with the super late podcast. How are you just going for the light?
Oh, all right.
All right, go.
All right.
I didn't even do it right, but yeah, we're back with the super late, super duper, um, another original.
Late night podcast. You already know.
So hopefully everybody's feeling great. If you're not already dreaming, if you are, hopefully you catch this on the flip side tomorrow night or morning or whatever time it is for you. But yeah, we're glad to be here. Still got to get it in. So,
What you mean by that?
because I mean, I would love to be dreaming right now, but we have a podcast to do.
Um, mm,
Being that late night is in the title, we can't just skip it because it feels like it's too late.
yeah.
Still got a little couple hours to make the window, but yeah. How you feel?
I'm feeling real cozy right now.
Why?
So sleep.
Oh, so you woke up just to do this?
Yeah. Gotta get to it. Gotta do what we said we were going to do. That's really the energy motivation behind it. Because I want to do it. So there's that too.
That's good. Well,
How you feeling?
um, I feel similar. I wasn't asleep, but you know, I definitely this was the last thing that we thought about today. I think both of us. Well, it was the first thing, but I'm saying last thing because I was soon to go to sleep. You were already asleep, but we still made it. So
I don't know why it's so funny.
I mean, it's probably just funny because it comes around quickly, and I mean, it's a priority, but we kind of, I don't know. I think this week just definitely crept up, for lack of a better way to put it.
It did. Wow.
But I think it's just because we have been spending our time wisely, I think. So, for the most part. So hopefully there'll be some of the things that we've learned this week we can share. Um, yeah. So what's something you learned this week? Or I could start if you wanna think about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
So let me think something I learned or we learned. Let me think. Let me think. It's been a long week, but I know again it felt somewhat quick, but I think it's just been because it's been busy with I guess just strategizing. And it's like we're entering a new season. Fall feels like winter where we are. But I don't know, I guess just trying to do things a little bit different, trying to make sure eating is improving and not going backwards, like to get better at things. So, but what did I learn this week? Let me think. Well, I've been kind of focusing on like writing my vision, so I can say that. I mean, I've been learning, and it's not something I just now. It's not a concept I just now learned, but I think just kind of breaking down and understanding more of what it really means. Like when the Bible says to write your vision and make it plain. I think I just realized that, and for lack of vision, people perish. Like those two kind of scriptures kind of go hand in hand. But I think what I learned further about, writing a vision and making it plain is, I guess, the making it plain being really to simplify it or for it to be simple to the point that, you know exactly what it is that you're, going for.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that I completely have gotten that down for myself yet as far as just simplifying it like on paper, but it's not that I don't know. It's just I really want to like understand more and more what it means.
Yeah.
So I just been kind of this week focusing on, as you already know, focusing on just kind of gaining some knowledge, learning from a couple people. Obviously, you can get on the internet and Google stuff, and or you can read books like the Bible. I don't know if there's a book like the Bible, but you can read different versions of the Bible and try to get understanding. But in some ways, that's what I've been doing. Um, I guess just seeing where vision can lead, but not just by overly writing down literally everything you want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you start there, I'm just realizing like it's the simplifying of, you know, the process that really allows us to gain that, I guess, focus and singleness of purpose, as they call it. Some people call it. And it's kind of been tough, I guess, for me to even grasp that, I can say, because it's not that I necessarily just want to be a jack of all trades and do everything. But at the same time, when you feel like, you may have more than one area that interests you or that you're strong in, it's like, well, how would I, how do you just settle on that one thing or a singleness of purpose? But, you know, I don't think you have to limit yourself, but I do believe there's power in like just as I'm learning, really just having that ability to focus on something,
Mm-hmm.
and let it grow from there. So that's kind of what I learned. I know it's somewhat a lot, but yeah.
Sounds like you learned quite a bit. That's good.
But you already knew that. I maybe haven't said it in that way, but I've been doing that.
Yeah.
What about you though?
Um,
Maybe something I don't know. I took the easy route.
Something I learned this week. I mean, I don't know. I'm just learning that basically to just not look back and just go forward with what you want to do. Doesn't really matter what everything else looks like. Okay? Do you want to do the things that you say you want to do or not? And you just focus on putting one foot in front of the other every single day. And you just really allow all the other pieces to work itself out. So that counts as learning something. It's a new endeavor or angle, I guess you could say, a way to look at life or go about life. But I just feel like, I don't know, in order to break into like the next level, you really have to adopt that mentality if you want to see things happen, because otherwise you'll be stagnant, or your focus will be so divided that you may just feel like the things that you want to see happen, you won't really know how they're going to take place. Um, so yeah, just by doing the things that I say I want to do and not being so hard on myself and critiquing every little thing about it, waiting for it to be perfect. Um, it's just helped me to realize that you can really be who you want to be, have the things that you desire, and see life in a new way. And it's fun to stay in that space. I think from the outside looking in, people would think that you are not really living life in a realistic way, but
Especially if you got there in a week.
especially if you got there in a week. But I don't know. I feel like I'm the type of person who I believe in like doing something cold turkey. Like I don't have to I don't have to wait forever to make a decision to go in a different direction. When I know I'm ready to go in that direction, I'm ready to put everything else down that is not in line with what I say I want to do. And I don't hold on to the things that will, hinder me from making that like decision. I'm not saying, there are other moments where it takes work to make that decision and actually believe in that decision, have confidence in it, and go that way. But then there are some things that at a certain point, um, like I remember a girl shared with me a quote. Basically, you'll get up from the table when you're full. And, a lot of us, we go back to the same old things because it's like we're not full yet eating from that table of anxiety. We're not full yet eating from the table of wanting to be validated and people pleasing and all that stuff. We keep going back for more, for more, for more. But you'll get up from the table when you're full and when you're done with that and actually be serious about what you say you want and what you want to do. So hopefully I said what I learned. I just learned and I look back, I guess.
Yeah, I
Simply
mean,
put.
yeah, that's great. You can you learn that, not that you learned it all this week, but I mean that's definitely something that takes a lot of people many, many years. I feel like, I mean, I'm not even saying that to say I have gotten that down yet, but that's great. I think it kind of goes hand in hand. If you don't really know, you know, your vision or where it is that you see yourself, you know what I mean? If you can't see beyond now, really, then it's kind of hard to, I think, do that. Meaning it's hard to leave things behind that are no longer necessary or that don't serve you. I mean, you did say putting one foot in front of the other, being a big, you know, reason behind being able to leave things in the past that you no longer need. But at the same time, I do feel like you gotta have something to even focus on, like to be able to put one foot in front of the other sometimes. Some people I think can just use whatever they have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's because they know like there's more for them. Even if the picture is not crystal clear, they believe something. Versus like, kind of not believing in anything. And it's like,
Yeah.
for what? I'm not moving. I'm gonna stay here, like you said, at this table,
Yeah.
seated. And, but I think if you're able to put one foot in front of the other, even it probably does mean you have a picture. And it probably means that you really want it, because sometimes even though you have a picture and you really want it, all you can do is put one foot in front of the other, because
Yeah.
it still doesn't make it any easier, but you've made the decision. So sounds like that's kind of what you have in mind in your heart. But I was gonna say, what do you um I guess what made you come across that lesson, or like when did it maybe click for you that was, you know valuable?
Well, it clicked for me being valuable. First of all, it clicking has a lot to do with having a spiritual foundation to lean on. Because, just getting to a certain point where you feel like everything is so calculated, it was trying to figure everything out. And that just becomes too much. Like, why am I thinking about all of that when I know clearly what it is that I want to do? And in me knowing what I want to do might not mean like I literally have all the pieces together, but with the one foot in front of the other, it's kind of like if I'm starting with the one piece that I do have, let me just hold on to that piece. And the realization is the fact that just if I neglect the one little piece that I have for and try to put together all 99 of the other pieces, that's a lot more energy, that's a lot more work. It's a lot more confusing to go about things in that way. And so the realization is just, I know I'm confident in this piece over here. So this should be the piece that I focus on. And so that just helped me to realize again that if you start with one piece that you have, it's a lot easier to start putting together the other pieces because you can you can sort things out more clearly than starting with 99 pieces and your board is scattered. It's like, where do you begin? Where do you go? Who do you call? What do you rely on? Um, so, but again, just having that spiritual foundation really to lean on is definitely a source of hope and confidence and reassurance, even to just have something positive to believe in and look forward to.
Yeah.
So that plays a big role. And again, when we focus on something, our reality of that thing becomes magnified and it really becomes like this is the only thing I can see. So just by believing in that, um, it has magnified my focus to where this is the only thing I'm focused on. It's the only thing I want to think about. It's you know, it is literally just what is guiding me, internally to the point where if I'm looking externally, um, I'm looking for the external to line up with what I know is inside of me. And yeah, with that realization, it's just caused me to get to this place or point at, in this current, season.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's really good. I was gonna say, I think the details, as far as working the details out, like you said, doing what you desire or being who you want to be, like it's really something that is achievable and that we can all do. Um, I think you said we can all do it, but essentially,
Mm-hmm.
we all have the potential, the capacity. But I guess my debate, in a sense, is like, yeah, doing what you want to do or, being who you want to be. And like that sounding like an empowering statement, but like as I'm considering, what it really means to like, write your vision or how to do that, how to go about even having a vision, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
some people necessarily aren't even necessarily maybe 100% familiar with using that term. They might say goals or they might say, their purpose or
Mm-hmm.
career or whatever. I think they can be one and the same, but they're not necessarily one and the same. So it's like I think to your point of being who you want to be, um, like you said, having that spiritual foundation being something that kind of like drives you forward or moves you forward or gives you something to build on. Whereas like without that, is it truly the same power for somebody to just go in a direction of being who they want to be and being empowered? Like not saying they can't achieve exactly what it is they're trying to set out to do. Um, Even if they don't have a spiritual foundation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all have a spiritual foundation of some sort, but even if that spiritual foundation is not necessarily something that, they've spent time in and grown in, um, and gained wisdom, and like I think you can become many things. You can go in maybe any direction you so choose, but you know, without the understanding, I guess, of like truly I guess what it means to have a vision. Like, is it something that really is like, I don't know, like, I guess just I'm just considering the power of that. Like, I don't even know if it's like a question for real, but
Yeah.
like, because if you were saying that to a room full of people, it would mean different things. Like, somebody's gonna be empowered. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go do what I want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have the same to me like potential and capacity as somebody who says, I'm gonna go do what I was created to do.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Um, I think it is an important distinction to make because if we're
assuming that the creator is good and he created us for his
mm,
good purpose. But yeah,
I think that is an important distinction to make because in and of ourselves, we can literally be whatever we want. I mean, if I wanted to dress up as a cartoon character and live my life that way, I could do that, as foolish as it may sound.
to somebody, because anime is
Exactly.
not fake.
Um, and I could I could do that. I mean, there's no limits to what you decide that you want to do or you want to be, but to have this, spiritual foundation or this innate thing inside of you that is speaking to you or guiding you, and kind of showing you who you were created to be and just paying attention to those positive facets of yourself that really speak to, you know, who you were created to be and who you actually are, is a different place to come from. And I do think it is a more powerful place to be because you do have something that you can build on and you're not just aimlessly building this person up. And I do personally think that could be dangerous because now we're kind of to build this fantasy person up, we are taking things that we see from our culture or the outside world and society and what we want people to think about us and all these different things, and we're trying to literally make this person up. And you could create this like false identity because it's based on external factors as opposed to a deep knowing of trying to discover.
Yeah, or it's
um
influenced by the wrong things, the
right.
wrong source. Because I mean, I don't think it's anything wrong with. I mean, we're all affected by external factors, but if you're focused on the right, maybe external factors, it could
Hmm.
help you.
Yeah,
You still don't want to copy and be something you're not, but
exactly. I mean, if you're just literally taking only these external factors and that's the thing that makes you who you are
yeah,
and you
I
think
agree.
that's who you are, then I don't think so because that person can be easily broken.
Yeah, kind of empty.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just be uh so blunt about it or disrespectful, but it kind of is like, yeah, if you're not feeding yourself, like, I mean, use the table analogy, which I think is great, but you can get full off of cake the same way you can get full off of eating the right fruits and vegetables, or
Yeah.
same way you can get full off of rice. But there's different kinds of rice. There's maybe the least healthy rice, and then the most, fiber packed, you know, nutrient dense, whatever other kind of rice that they might both make you feel full, but I mean, what are you filling yourself up with? I think, right?
Yeah.
Kind of the
Yeah, I think it does kind of literally become a thing, like you are what you eat.
yeah,
Like that saying is not fake, not just a physical food sense, but
yeah.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, identity wise.
You are what you consume. You are what you
Hmm.
take in. I mean, yeah.
Yep. And when you look at it that way from a standpoint of what type of, I mean, I like that word. It's like, what are you consuming?
Yeah.
Um, and and that shaping like who you are or who you even think you are, because we get, I think some of us we get so far down a path of thinking we're this person, but we were consuming things that we were just infatuated with, but that is in no way in line with like who we truly are. Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, our character might not match up with the kind of identity that the world is forcing us to take on.
Yeah.
Um, it's just so many different ways or angles that this can happen, but it is important that we look inside of ourselves and draw from that inner to truly see who we are so that we, and most importantly, be confident in that. I think it does take courage to do that because we are so unique. So when you're really ready to step inside of that and you recognize how your uniqueness can even start to separate you in some ways, it really takes, like, you got to be bold enough to really lean into the person that you know you are, if it does at all look like that you are different.
And if it doesn't look like you're different, I mean, it's probably because trying to keep up with external factors or external sources or things, or, like you said. But I feel like that, to what you're saying, I feel like that's why the spiritual foundation and feeding yourself in that way, whether it be prayer, meditation, reading the word, uh, just having a relationship, I would say even with the right people who fill you up, like they speak, they reaffirm you or speak positivity, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they help build your confidence, they challenge you, hold you accountable. Some of the things that we've talked about on previous episodes or, you know, podcasts. But um I just think that, with filling yourself up spiritually, you'll really be, I'm not gonna say forced in a negative sense, but forced meaning like you'll be driven. I feel like you'll be moved or motivated to, or inspired even to, move into and step into like this, constant maybe growth or this constant like evolving. Like, not that you have to become this completely different person, but early on, it might be that you have to become the version of you that really is truly, you know, who you are. And then from there, you'll just probably continue to grow into a better version of that. Um,
Yeah.
but contrasting or comparing and contrasting that with the external factors are just, I feel like you'll just constantly be trying to keep up with something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference. Like, one is moving you, the other one, you're constantly chasing something that you can't truly catch.
Yeah.
Because the external, the world, whatever, it's dictated by things beyond you. You can't really
Mm-hmm.
grasp hold of that. You can buy it, you can try to put it on, you can, maybe emulate it. People might do a great job and make it look achievable, but it's not truly yours. What's truly yours is like, it is those things that we can't really see that are in us that
Yeah.
only we can like bring to the forefront,
Mm-hmm.
through having faith and, hard work. It's going to take some work too, discipline, but the spiritual foundation, like you said, I think that's how you think that is, in a sense, like vision, if not the beginning to vision.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And it's good because it gives you that constant, whereas the everything that you're saying, all of these things are constantly changing. So if these things are changing, then
like what?
just what the world is doing, what people are chasing,
Yeah, yeah,
those things are literally always changing. So if you're chasing after that, I would go really so far as to say, like, you're always changing. And that's not a good thing. There should be some level of consistency or constant, like who we are and everything else that's being born out of us, we can, I guess, now really be able to see what it looked like to bear those fruits or those things connected to us to flourish. Whereas those things can't flourish or be born out of us because everything's changing so fast. I mean, there's nothing to cultivate, you know, for the environment that we're in. That makes sense.
Might
But
be a little deep, but they just got to do their homework, get a dictionary. But but nah, I mean, I get what you're saying, so I'm sure the listeners follow. It's late, but essentially, environment. I mean, you can relate that to nature, cultivate, gardening, born out of like seeds. Whatever seeds are planted, they got to be planted on good, solid ground in an environment where there's good, clean rain, and nutrient dense, fertile soil. If not, it ain't gonna flourish, right? I mean, or it might grow, but it's not gonna be a plant that's able to sustain. So like we got to be like the plants that are able to sustain, and essentially we're the gardeners to our own garden, I guess, in a sense. Like I mean, God obviously is the one who I think He instructs us if we listen, but it's up to us to maintain and cultivate that garden.
yeah.
He gave it to us. So, but I was gonna say, so do you think, with what you're saying, do you think change is bad? Like when people say like you've changed, or if somebody says that to me, like or you or any of the listeners, if somebody's ever said that to you, or if you've ever said that to somebody, or if you ever say I'll never change, like, but do you think change is bad?
Not in that context, no. Because we should be changing and evolving for the better. I feel like that's literally the reason why we're here is to grow and evolve into the who we are created to be. Um, I want to say, the best version of ourselves. Even saying that can feel like it's a lot to live up to. Like, what does it really look like to pursue being the best version of yourself? But change is not bad. It's just change in the context of, I guess, aimless change or change that you didn't even necessarily decide. You're just following. You haven't taken the time to, assess your own self and sit down with yourself, look yourself in the mirror and see what it is that you truly desire and like what do you need to create impact or influence and bring positivity and value to not just yourself but other people's lives and those connected to you. And that does require change, and that's not bad. But if we're changing because we're adopting behaviors that are not taking us in a direction that is in line with what we say we want, then I don't know what kind of change that is.
Mm, that makes sense. So good answer. Great answer. Yeah. I mean, because you said like, you know, we shouldn't. I think you said before, like basically there should be a sense of consistency to who we are, and
Mm.
I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. As far as a person who is, I would say, is mature or who is maturing, and that doesn't matter what age you are. It's just I feel like a mindset or a mentality of like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do things quote unquote the right way. I'm gonna walk, by faith, but I'm gonna walk purposefully. I'm not gonna be selfish. I'm gonna think about others. I'm gonna walk in love. Like, I mean, those might be concepts that you could be 99 years old and still be learning and grasping and working on. But essentially, I think even just to get those in the least bit, like, it doesn't mean you're gonna agree with everybody. Everybody's gonna agree with you, but it's the the spirit behind which you do things, and sometimes only the Lord knows, your heart and situations. But you maintaining that and not letting circumstances like so easily rattle you or change, I guess, your behavior just because something didn't go your way. Now you completely, like respond like an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? Like that might not be, you changed that quick, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Like you changed based on the circumstance. And I'm not saying that that's an easy concept to just maintain, like,
Yeah.
quote unquote good behavior. But
Mm-hmm.
but you can jump in if you have something. But I was just gonna say, like, I mean, but at the same time that you do get to certain, I guess you could say, bumps in the road where it's like, while it might have been an external factor or something out of your control, there was also a lesson there. And I was actually going to say this to something you said right when we started, but there's a lesson in those situations where you get to a point of realizing, like, oh, things aren't going my way, or, why do I keep finding myself in this situation? And you might not have been a bad person during that time or in that season, even. You might have been growing and improving, but you just had yet to come across maybe that specific lesson.
Yeah.
And now you're faced with, like, I do need to change in this way, but I guess changing in that way doesn't mean like you got to become a different person entirely.
Right.
But I think that's something that, it's interesting to me because I think a lot of people look at that different. Like, some people literally expect that you're supposed to be the same or stay the same. And like, and I think they really think that that's the way to live. And I think that's, it's your prerogative how you want to think, but I
Yeah.
mean, I'm realizing more and more like the growth factor, I guess.
Ooh, the growth factor.
Why is that? Ooh,
I just like that.
the growth factor being the factor of life that requires growth or that gives us the opportunity to grow is just is something that I think we got to pay attention to. Like, it's important, you know, and it's not inevitable. I think the opportunities are inevitable. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be an opportunity in situations for us to get a lesson out of it. But, we don't we don't automatically or always just get that. So I think that's where, if you don't see those opportunities, you're probably stagnant and you're not changing for the better.
Yeah.
So it's like there's consistency to who you are, but you probably need to change in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's how I kind of see it, but
Yeah. Um,
I'm not. We're not disagreeing. I agree. You said some great stuff.
I would just say I think a good way to test that change for the better, for one, you definitely should be able to ask yourself, how have I changed for the better? And for two, I think a good way to measure that is looking at what you say you want and looking at the decisions you make or your habits and assessing those things to see if that is in line with the change that you would like to see. Because if it's not, then like you haven't changed for the better.
Yeah.
Um, maybe you're just stagnant, or maybe that progress is slow for, whatever reasons that you just still might have to work on. But I think those are two good ways to assess that a change for the better.
Say 'em one more time if you can.
One, assessing, um, one, being able to ask yourself, how have I changed for the better?
Mm-hmm.
And a way to measure how have you changed for the better is looking at, your habits, the
Mm-hmm.
decisions you make, your way of thinking, and match that up with the change that you want to see.
Okay.
So if the things that you're doing is not in line with the change that you want to see, then you have work to do to change for the better.
Yeah, that's great. I think I have something for maintaining a sense of consistency in who you are.
Let's get it.
I think you have to achieve maybe what that means to you or what that looks like. But I would say if you're able to, ask yourself, like, what are my strengths? If you're able to identify your strengths, those are something that you should be able to not only maintain, you should improve in those things, but that's something that you should never deviate from.
Yeah.
And if you have those strengths, like, that's where you should probably operate out of.
Mm-hmm.
So that just came to me with what you're saying. So there's 3 things for you guys in the areas of change and maintaining true to who you are at the same time. Sounds like a contradiction, but but I think both are necessary because we got to constantly be able to, as I'm learning, I do believe they're both necessary because you got to constantly be able to like adapt in situations in life. Like
Right.
if you're just the same to the point where, borderline like stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
everything's not going to go your way, um, and not just because you're stubborn, but because it's life.
Right.
But I think if you're able to be, more open to a challenge, you can get a lesson out of it and it can help you to grow and go further than you might have thought was possible.
Yeah.
Not, oh, here's a roadblock, I
Mm-hmm.
can't go this way anymore. It's like, no, here's a roadblock. I learned something. And wow, now I skipped a step because what I just learned helped shape my mindset, further than what would have if it would have just been an easy path.
Right.
And then obviously with the strengths, you just, where somebody else might have easily been rattled, your strengths.
Yeah.
And you're able to continue in that area. So anyway, yeah, 3 things.
Yep. So make sure you hit the replay, the rewind, get out your notebook and your iPhone, write it down.
That's true. Or your Android.
Or your Android.
Or your mom's Android.
Whatever you got.
Maybe we might have a 7-year-old tapping in.
That's true.
Or a 70-year-old with a flip phone. It don't matter.
Yep. Whatever you can do to write it down, take a look at it and, assess those things for yourself. So
yeah. And if you have strengths, put the strengths in the comments. I think sometimes when we share what our strengths are, I don't know, I think that is something that builds community too. That might be a whole nother conversation, but that's, I think, another reason why we do have to be confident in becoming that person that we see ourselves becoming, and why we do have to continue to put one foot in front of the other and, believe that we'll cross paths with the right people and we operate in our strengths, we can build that community and help each other be better. So anyway,
I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah, you need to. You acting weird. But nah, I'm just playing. We both acting weird at this hour. I'm about to. But yeah, this was good. So I think y'all should like this one. Whether you press the like button or not, that's on you. But I liked what we just talked about.
Same.
So y'all have a good night. Thank you for listening as always. Thank you for your critique. More so, thank you for putting into action what we're talking about.
Yep. And thank you for being your unique self, because that's what we need.
Yeah. Sweet dreams, thoughts, prayers, peace, love.
Peace and love.
Supposed to add some more stuff. You copying me. All right, time to go to sleep. Good night.
Good night.